Hello and welcome to the first in a 5-part series where I go over my process to create and share content. Today's rundown is for the DIY musicians out there. I'm going to be showing you my process for recording and writing bass for Valis Ablaze. So the real deal is split in between two pieces of hardware really. These are 2018 acquisitions for me. So the first one is my Dingwall NG2 and the Dark Glass Alpha Omega Ultra. The Dingwall bass is assembled in Canada and weighs 4.2 kilos. It's pretty light given the 37 to 34 inch scale length. The frets are banjo frets and they sit atop a maple fingerboard and a 5-piece maple neck. The neodymium pickups in this are extremely powerful. They act both active and passive at just a flick of a switch. The tuners on this model are hip shot and I've never ever experienced them ever letting me down, ever slipping at all during a gig. The Dark Glass Electronics Alpha Omega Ultra really is a thing of beauty. This is true of the casing and the tone that it produces. This pedal combines both the Alpha and Omega distortions that Dark Glass have released, as well as featuring 7-band EQ. You can do all the usual Ultra things. You can blend the distortions, you can control the drive, change the level, change the blend between DI and the distortion. You can obviously adjust the EQ, you can adjust the growl and the bite, so you can flick the growl on and the bite on with a flick of a switch. My favourite thing for this, however, has to be the fact that you can, on the fly, turn distortion on and off and switch between the distortion channels as absolutes rather than a blend of the two. This is really easily achieved as well. So just by holding down the distortion pedal for 3 seconds, what will happen is it will switch between either an on-off state, so distortion on or off. At this point it uses the blend knob to control the Alpha and Omega distortions to an absolute Alpha or an absolute Omega circuit distortion. Ultimately this gives you up to 4 options for a patch per song. So you could dial in, for instance, a blend for one section, then you've got the full Alpha, the full Omega, and then no distortion but still using those Dark Glass preamps inside the pedal itself. And obviously you've got the cab sim as well, which is incredibly useful, especially if, like me, you go DI straight through the sound desk wherever you're playing, as it adds like a little bit more body and a little more fullness to the sound. As for the I/O, it's pretty standard. You've got a quarter jack input, a quarter jack output, you have a headphone output, which is really useful if you're practicing late at night and you don't want to have to go straight through your audio interface. You've got a USB port to load the cab sims and tweak other things, and you've obviously got your direct output as well. To record using these two tools, I go out of the Dark Glass direct output into the MBox Pro, which is Avid's audio interface. The MBox 3 is the one that I use, and that goes into Logic Pro X because I'm not a fan of Pro Tools, mostly through my fault because I haven't had enough time to play with it. I just stick with what I know. So on that note, I use Logic Pro X for everything that I do with audio, whether it's tweaking something like the voice that I'm recording right now, if it's tweaking a voiceover, if it's creating sounds for film, that is the tool that I use to cover everything. On my signal chain for recording bass, I go through a tuner, gate, compressor, saturation, amp simulator, another compressor, and that's it for that. The reason that I have something set up on my record bus is I will go from the bass directly into the box, and then from the box I'll do all of the tracking and I'll do all of the relevant editing, and then after that I will then do 4 passes of reamping using the distortion pedal. So the first one is pure Alpha, the second one is pure Omega, the third one is pure preamp with no distortion, and the final one is a pure just DI bounce in place of all the edits, just so it's one nice long track for the person doing the mixing and then send it on. Speaking of sending it on, it's not exactly difficult, but it's not exactly easy, us all being in separate places. It kind of brings onto the topic of collaboration for us really. So the way we all work is through Guitar Pro. So myself, Ash, Dale and Tom, we primarily work in Guitar Pro, so we'll write all of the guitar parts, Tom will come up with skeleton bass tracks, and then when they're kind of finalized from their point of view, it's then over to myself to make my edits and Dale to make his edits. Our edits obviously don't get done until we've got the final track and we can hear it, and then we can properly go through the tracks themselves and write and record at the same time, which is my process. I generally like to think of the bass as an extension to the guitar itself. So most of the time I will be playing a really similar part to what Tom and Ash will be playing, or rather what the rhythm guitar is playing, obviously if they're doing leads. Anyway, I digress. But I tend to play mostly what the guitar's playing. However, there are some sections where I will try and add more of like a bassy kind of feel to it. Something more maybe simpler, groovier, or you know, just a little bit more solid if there's something really manic going on. Like I said before, after everything's done, they all get zipped. They go over to Tom for editing / consolidation, because I've already done most of the editing myself. We'll have kind of like a to and fro about the actual bass tone that we want for each track based on the blends that we can create, and once I'm happy with that, that then gets sent over to whoever's doing the mixing for whatever album, EP, single, cover, blah, whatever on earth it is that we're releasing at this time. And then yeah, from there it's all down to them. Okay, that's it for this one. Thanks very much for watching. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to stay up to date, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell if you want to be updated every time I release a new video. Like I said, this is a 5-part series, so there will be more videos coming out relating to the overall creative process. So stay tuned and I'll see you in the next one.